Diff Dad Ducks, I hope you're well and you're coping in the heat if you're in the UK, Europe and America. Now, on the 11th of July 2026, Mabel and I interviewed Misty Burgess, who is the first Trans Plus candidate to be elected to Southampton City Council, as you may be aware if you have watched my previous video. After the interview and after we had come off air, Misty allowed us to know that the Reform councillors in Southampton City Council were proposing a motion to ban all but the flying of the county, the English national flag and the union colours. They've done this in councils that they control up and down England, and they are increasingly trying to push the boundaries of what they can get away with locally. It was obvious this motion was probably going to be voted down. The protest that we organised and that Mabel from her sickbed organised a brilliant social media campaign to get everybody galvanised in the community in Southampton was just fantastic. A lot of impressions, a lot of views, a lot of likes, and we all shared it amongst ourselves on our social media platforms, and we got about 70 people to attend on a very hot 15th of July 2026 when the motion was to be heard in the council chambers. We held a protest outside where we sang chants, and then we heard Misty speak on the steps of the Civic Centre, and then we all went inside to the public gallery to watch the developments unfold, to see what would happen eventually. The plan that Clara and I, who attended as part of Trans Pride Southampton, were going to do was wait for the motion to be heard, double check that it was definitely going to be voted down, although the chances were it was very likely it would be voted down. Reform don't have enough MPs, councillors, and there's not enough Tory councillors to back them, even if some of them were pro doing that anyway. We were going to wait for the motion to be defeated, cheer, a clap and walk out. Now, what happened in the end was that it got too hot for Clara and myself. It was too hot in the chambers. They had like a portable aircon system. I don't know how the councillors cope with it in the chamber itself. Everybody was fanning themselves and had portable fans, and there was by the fire escape was the aircon vacuuming everything out and pushing fresh air in. They kept pushing the motion back and back and back, and in the end, unfortunately, Clara and I were beaten by the heat and we had to retreat from the hall. Now, I tried to watch the proceedings online, couldn't find it, typed in all sorts of different references, don't think much of a YouTube search, unless Southampton City Council has a very unique name, YouTube handle. What you're about to see is all of us gathered on the steps outside the Civic Hall, and you will see Misty's speech to the assembled crowd, and then when we come back I will explain what actually took place and how it all went down, because it was quite spectacular.
So to debate whether we should be flying flags of communities that are in danger, vulnerable, being attacked, whether that's by people on the streets or by our government. But a motion that I put in with regards to the guidance from the EHRC has been deferred to September because apparently it's not time sensitive enough. Shame! I am disgusted by this, frankly. I would love to say that this city can be a proud, safe place for all people, but if this guidance goes through up in Westminster, nowhere in this country is safe unless they explicitly say it. This is unacceptable. Thank you all so much for coming along. Please come along also in September to support when this motion will be heard. I'm sorry that it hasn't been heard this time. I'm sorry for letting you down, but I will be fighting, I will constantly be fighting to make sure that our rights are protected.
The footage is short, but that's what I got. I hope you don't mind. I hope the speech was all right. I think Misty did a brilliant job in that speech. She really got through what she needed to say. Now, what was the result of the motion? Well, in the end, Councillor Crook, who had proposed the motion for reform, withdrew it. So he didn't get a vote. When it was withdrawn, the public gallery erupted into cheers, clapping, cheering, and one of the members of the assembled public shouted down into the gallery, "We will be back," as a statement of intent that if they try this again and they get more seats at the local election and after devolution, we will fight them. We will fight them. We will not let them just idly, not just destroy the city for the queer community, but destroy the city for any other diverse community and the majority of people that live here, because they do not have our interests at heart. Now, I have some things here from Laurie Foster, who is the other Trans Plus candidate in the council. They have kindly sent me some stuff that explains how they feel about the day, and I wanted to share, if I can read it in this light, some of the things that they sent me. So one of them was, hang on, I might need to take my glasses off for this. "Now more than ever, we need to stand shoulder to shoulder and demand to be heard. We are not disposable, not scapegoats for the failing neoliberal politics or fodder for the right-wing distraction. We are real people who contribute to society, the economy, and the rich tapestry of culture and joy that defines this country, or at least used to." Which is sentiment in itself. On the motion, they said, about the withdrawal of the motion, they go on to type, "We know about this thinly, we know thinly veiled fascism when we see it. We will always call it out and stand against those who wish to oppress us." That is very true. It is no good that we push. Now, I'm going to share something here. I hope she doesn't mind. Mabel gets a bit nervous on the radio. Mabel is a journalist. She's a semi-professional journalist. That's what I like to think of her as. And she has a particular way of framing things when we're discussing them on the radio show. And she dislikes it. Well, she's uncomfortable. She's uncomfortable when I call parties like Reform fascist or proto-fascist. Well, they are. If you can't call out a fascist for being a fascist, what good is the word in the first place? Reform have constantly shown over the last few years how determined they are to smash this country to pieces, give it up to crypto millionaires, and do a massive great grift on the Treasury's expense, whilst dumping on minorities and expelling everybody that isn't white-skinned and locking people like me up. They are not a party to be trivialised with. There is still a chance they could form the next government, a minority government at that, propped up by the Tories, but there is still a chance, as we look at it now here on 16th of July 2026, there is still a chance in the polls that they could form a government. That would be a nightmare. I have railed against this a number of times in my videos. I do not care what people say. They are fascists. If you have 9 fascists in a room and one person who isn't a fascist sits down with them and breaks bread with them, there are 10 fascists at a table. We need to address this. Now, they've shown their colours by pushing for this vote and then withdrawing at the last minute because they realised there was no support in the chamber for it and they had a protest on their hands. Now, what with the HC guidance, which I believe comes into force on the 5th of August now, the trans community and the queer community in general have a big fight on its hands. And we need to be ready for that fight and willing to take that fight on and find any way we can to protest and get our voices heard. Because no one's going to do it for us unless we do it for ourselves. We've all seen what genocide is and how it affects people and how people can quietly go off to the gas chambers without a murmur. We need to fight and stand up for ourselves and stop this sort of thing from happening. And Reform need to know that if they come back and do this again, even if they think they have the votes, they will have a fight on their hands. And we will be loud and boastful and shout a lot about it. And fight if we have to, however, whatever form that takes. Because if we don't, well, we know how fascism ends. What it comes to and what it ends as. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye, everybody.